Hello everyone! In this video I'm going to be showing off my new module, the Avalon Harmonics AxB. So let us begin. Basically, AxB is a compact 3HP 4-cornered multiplier. You can see it right here. In other words, it works as a VCA, but it inverts the signal when the control signal is negative. It works with both CV and audio signals, so you can both use it to make complex CV processing, or you can also use ring modulation with it. On the front panel, right here, you can see that we have two inputs, A and B. Here is the A input and B input. Both A and B have same features. First of all, we have attenuverters here. And we also have switch for rectifying the input. We can either be as is or rectified. When the signal enters the module, first it goes through this selector switch, whether it's normal or rectified. And then after that signal, it goes into the attenuverter, which allows us to either keep it positive only, or we can make it go into negative values, basically inverted. So, in order to demonstrate this module, I will be connecting one of these thonk VCOs into it, and I will be connecting my Cmod 8. So let's quickly patch it up. I will be sampling the sawtooth from here. And we will connect the Cmod 8. This. On its own, the module won't say it to do anything. We need to give it some signal level using the attenuverter. So, like this. As you can see, it goes from positive values to negative. We will also need to increase this if we want to be able to control it. And now let's give it some positive value on the B inputs with Cmod 8. As you can see, the output is now more or less copied from the inputs because we are multiplying with a positive value. But what if we give it a negative value on the output? On the input B. As you can see, the output is now inverted from the input A. Because in a way, you can imagine it as a CV-controlled attenuverter, so to speak. But instead of looking at pretty flashing LEDs, let's connect some sort of filter so we can actually hear what is going on here. I have a cable here, which we can use for that purpose. And let's have a listen. I will reset it how it was, with the positive B input. Yeah, as you can hear, we have a rising slope on the filter sweep. If we give it a negative value, we will have a falling sweep. Pretty simple. We can also play around with the attenuverters, like that. Now we again have rising sweep. And we make this positive, and we again have falling sweep. It's basically just multiplication. But what happens if we play around with the rectifiers? Because I mentioned earlier that we have rectifier switches here for each input. So let's try activating the rectifier for the A input. As you can see, it's now only in the positive domain, and the sawtooth has effectively become a triangle, which does make sense. In order to be able to make this negative, we can just turn the attenuverter counterclockwise, and as you can see, the signal is now negative. We can also control it with our B input. As you can see, we're inverting it now. Minus and minus gives plus, right? But that's pretty cool. What happens if we give it two LFOs as input, or in this case, VCOs? So let's connect the two Thonk VCOs as its input. Instead of using CV mod 8, I will plug it into, I don't know, sine wave? As you can hear, it's now generating some pretty interesting CV modulation there. We can also play around with this. Whenever the sawtooth does its transition, it does a little almost click when it very quickly switches over. Definitely very interesting. Let's try and use some of the different waveforms we have here, like sawtooth with sawtooth, for instance. Also gives very interesting sound. Now I have inverted one of them. Let's try and rectifying. Now we're only dealing with lower sound. Just for the hell of it, let's try and speed one up. We could speed both up. Let's try using two sine waves. Definitely pretty interesting. So yeah, that's the first primary use of this module. You can use it to generate new complex CV modulations, but because it is an analog multiplier, we can also use it for something more audio rate. We can combine two different signals and perform ring modulation on them. So I will now do some changes. I will tune these two oscillators to be actually in audio range, connect them to my KeyStep Pro, connect an oscilloscope, and reconnect stuff around, and we will hear how that sounds like. So be right back. Okay, welcome back, and we have done some changes, as I said before the break. I've made it so that we are inputting a sine wave and a sawtooth into our AxB, and here is a little live feed from my oscilloscope in the corner, and as you can see, the sawtooth is first going up, like it has a rising direction once the sine wave is positive, and it has a falling direction when the sine wave is negative. So let's hear how this sounds like. Quite harsh, but pretty cool. And try playing some arps with this. But let's have a listen what other sounds we can get. This is now the basic setup where we have two same signals inputting. Doesn't really matter much how we set these attenuverters, but let's put them like this. Same sound. What we will try to do now is play around a bit with the rectifying, because rectifying will massively affect how the sound is. So first of all, as you can see, when I switch the A input, which is the sine wave, the waveform changes. It goes from going up once the sine wave is positive to going down when it's negative, to going up in both directions. And we're basically, instead of ring modulation, getting simple amplitude modulation. So let's hear how this change sounds like. Quite a massive difference. But now we will have an even larger difference, and that is what will happen if we switch the other rectifier of the sawtooth. So let's try this. Let's do it like this. As we can see, sawtooth became a triangle wave. But it's still ring modulated against the sine wave. Let's go a step further and try and rectify both. Pretty interesting sound, right? Let's give a go at the other different waveforms. For instance, let's see what happens if instead of sawtooth we use, I don't know, both sine waves? There's a classic ring modulation sound. Let's try and activate some of the rectifiers. Ooh, that's quite a nice sound there. Massively different. Which does make sense, because activating rectifying on a sine wave will kind of double its frequency. So we get a total of 4 quite dramatically different sounds. We have this. We have this. We have this. And we have this. As you can hear, you can get all sorts of possibilities from this. Let's try some other sounds as well, for instance a square wave. This one is pretty interesting. Rectifying a square wave technically just gives a new single voltage, so but it's a little bit rough because it's not perfect. Let's try the other way around. So this will give some very interesting sounds. I've already played around with this, feeding it a slow changing sawtooth and a fast moving other wave, in this case sine wave. Gives a very cool pulsing effect. Let's try to play around with rectification again. These are now all just in positive, which makes sense. Let's try like this. That one is very rough. Quite a gritty sound. Let's try some other sounds other than the sine wave. Let's try like, reset these first. Let's try a sawtooth with a sawtooth. Pretty interesting. Rectification. That's pretty cool. Just slicing up the waveform there. Will be satisfying. Like this, it's basically just a slightly amplitude modulated triangle. Yeah, I think you get the idea. Basically, other than using it to create complex CV, you can also use it to create very interesting ring modulation effects and rectified effects and all sorts of other stuff. Basically, out of a few waveforms, you gain a lot more wave shaping capabilities than usual. And yeah, I guess that's about it. The time of releasing this video, the module should already be released, and you should be able to buy it on my Etsy. That's all I kind of wanted to show for now, and I will see you all around next time. Bye bye.